Hi, welcome to this next episode of the OpenStack and Beyond podcast. This week we have an all-star cast from the all-star event at the OpenStack Summit coming from you from sunny Vancouver. In the room, or in the lobby I should say, we have my co-host Nati Shalom from GigaSpaces.
Hi Shlomo, how are you?
Hi.
One thing that I wanted to show you is take a look outside. This is where we're going to take a cruise here soon. This is the swimming pool. We're going to all go there. You're going to stay in LA, right?
There's a convention center with...
I'm still in LA.
Convention center, right, Mish. This is the convention center where the event is taking. For those who are not here, they're missing quite an experience. So now you could be envy at us. I did that part. And you're in LA, right, Shlomo?
I'm in LA, and unfortunately I couldn't be at the conference at the summit this week. But I would like to get a good sense of, well, first of all, we have in the background there, right over your left shoulder, Nati, is Nick Chase. How you doing, Nick?
Good to see you.
Likewise. And coming into view here is Alex Freedland. Alex Freedland and Nick are both from Mirantis, co-founders and very active in the OpenStack ecosystem. Gentlemen, before I ask you questions specifically about the conference, I'd like to introduce Maish Seidel-Kiesing.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Hi, Maish. Maish is a repeat guest on the podcast program here. He's from Cisco and been working with virtualization and VMware for 15 years or so. And we'll hear from all three of you gentlemen. Would you like to, could you please share your impressions about what the conference is like as a venue and an event as opposed to the content itself? Because I'm not there, and I'd like our listeners who are also not there to get a good sense for what things feel like.
Alex, the camera is on you. So
camera is on me. Okay.
Then you want to take the first step.
I'll take the first step. So the venue is spectacular. I mean, you guys had a preview of this from Nati's panoramic camera. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's ocean and the hills. And this is probably the most gorgeous venue OpenStack Summit ever been to, including Paris, to my taste. But it's just
not better than Tel Aviv.
Yeah. Well, the summit hasn't gotten to Tel Aviv, so we have to.
We're working on it.
We have to work on it. Yes. So one day.
We were talking about doing the bar mitzvah.
The 13th. But you got to make sure you have a large enough conference.
Yeah, I know.
It's not going to happen anyway because they announced it's going to go afterwards to back to 56.
I see. Okay, so we'll work on the rest of them, I think.
That's right. When someone is turning 18. So, the gorgeous surroundings and actually a very, very good conference.
How many people are there, do you think?
We have about 6,000 people, give or take. So it's about a 20% increase from the previous summit. And one thing that I can see is different from the earlier summits is there are a lot of customers here who know nothing about OpenStack. And this is new because we're used to kind of having a lot of techies who are, and there's like this tacit competition of I know OpenStack better than you know OpenStack conference. And there is a lot of that going on here too. But there's a lot of companies who come in here and say, well, we need to do something with the cloud. We have no idea what it is. And people are telling us that OpenStack is the cloud. So what is OpenStack and how do we do it? And of course, what that also means is there are big players like Cisco and HP and EMC and VMware. They all have stories and familiar names to those customers. And then there are up-and-coming companies who are household names in the OpenStack ecosystem, like Mirantis is one of them. We have to explain, hey, you don't know about us, but story. And so it means that we've kind of grown up, and we have to change our marketing and positioning in the world with the people who are not necessarily OpenStack aficionados. So
yeah, I would say that Mirantis did a brilliant move, and they're the most noticeable people in the conference. So you could see Alex shirts and Nick Chase.
Yes.
So this
It's a hockey
conference,
town, remember?
Yeah, exactly. You cannot miss them, even if you want to. You cannot miss them.
Why would you want to?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Just saying. So, Mesh, why don't you give your...
Well, everything that Alex has said is exactly true. It's a lot of people which are a decent percentage of the population is also, I think, from the conference itself, the attendees are relatively new to OpenStack, trying to understand how they can make sense of this whole big thing, which is not as simple as everybody would hope it to be. I would like it to be. Trying to understand what they can do, the people that can help them out. Are they able to do it on their own, or do they need somebody to help them through a vendor, such as Mirantis or other companies, Cisco, which does things like that as well.
You need to think about, from the keynotes, which keynote took your attention most?
I think the keynote actually was, second day was a lot more interesting than the first, not because of the demos which were there, but the content was more of showing a vision of what OpenStack would like to go to, and not understanding where we come up until now.
Okay. And in the first day, like if you integrate Walmart versus the other use cases, which one struck your attention most?
Of course, the demo which was done with the video film tree, I think the company, was extremely impressive. But actually, as somebody said as well, which was something which made me think you can do the same thing with Dropbox today. Exactly. Yes. So what the added benefit, of course, there is things to do in OpenStack, but there are other solutions besides. So it was sort of an eye-opener. You can there are other solutions out there, not necessarily cloud that you have to deploy in-house or in your own data center or in a third-party data center. So it's always to see which fits your need at the right time, in the right place.
Well, so my comment was, again, I focus not on the OpenStack aficionados now, but I focus on real customers. And the fact that Walmart, which is one of the world's largest companies, is running hundreds of thousands of stores in production and talking about it, and this supports their business and agility and ability to integrate thousands and thousands of stores. Now that's impressive. Yeah, that's impressive. Now, for the entertainment content, the video editing demo was kind of cool. But you're right. I mean, you can do it.
Demonstrate the value
and probably the volume that they shared would be, the free subscription.
Exactly.
So Dropbox for free.
Right. I would say that we had our own kind of contribution into that. We brought TD Bank in a way into the summit itself, and that's the work that was done in collaboration with Rackspace and Redhead, and they kind of built or moved the entire bank into OpenStack, which was an interesting culture change. I think there was some good takeaways from that. Next, I think that we wanted to cover a little bit more about the conference itself. So part of the question that Meish, I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned that the operation usually were a consumer of OpenStack, and the complaining side of OpenStack, if you like, about the complexity. What do you think about that, and have everything changed on the operation side?
So I would think that it is becoming better. Every cycle, there's more and more involvement from operators, and from my personal view, it's not enough, because operators at the moment are still not viewed as equals in the OpenStack community. If it will be the fact that people which are contributors into OpenStack are people which commit code. And there are other ways, of course, to contribute to OpenStack, if it will be by evangelism or providing feedback into the working groups, participating in all kinds of working groups. For example, there's a product working group how to productize OpenStack, find what OpenStack is as a product. There's a Win Enterprise working group which goes to all the big enterprises and say, what are your problems? Let's get the feedback. Let's give that feedback back into the project teams. So it's becoming better. These things have been set up over the past 2 or 3 cycles and are meeting on a regular basis. But I would still would like to see more improvement and more acceptance of, one of the things which I really believe in is the fact of DevOps. And I find it's a very clear disconnect in OpenStack between the developers and operations people, because that was the way the community was up until now. And hopefully that something will change over time, because because it's not something which can be done or forced on any one parties as well.
And, excellent. And Alex, I remember I've been in almost every OpenStack event, and one of the traditions that I used to have was very entertaining was that every event was opened with a scandal from Mirantis. It was partially VMware, then it was eBay or PayPal at that time, and I can list those pretty much per event. This year you were pretty quiet. Is that because you got more enterprisey, or you're too rich to deal with scandal?
Well, the riches come, when you either go public or sell. So we're not too rich yet. We hold a promise. That's how we pay. But no. There is some truth to this. I mean, we weren't quiet by any stretch of imagination, because in preparing for the summit, in the first day of the summit, we did the roll of thunder announcements with some very, very high-end partnerships. You guys saw that we started with, EMC announced a partnership with Mirantis, and then Pivotal announced partnership with Mirantis, then Oracle announced partnership with Mirantis, and then Citrix announced partnership with Mirantis. And those are all substantial companies, and when they announce those kind of partnerships, that means they think that these partnerships are strategic. So you're right. I mean, now that we have to work with very large companies and strategic deals and all that, the scandals are probably not something that will help us, to gain momentum, right? I mean, the notoriety is useful when nobody knows you, but when they do, you want to change your image. So, right now the news we make are the big customer wins and very, very loud shirts. So that can really work very well. So that the competition knows we're everywhere, right? So, and I think some of the members of the press got so impressed that they wrote about it, and that was the scandal, the positive scandal of the day. And,
by the way, did Trove actually took the idea here, and I saw them, those guys actually going with similar shirts.
I don't know. I mean, good ideas come not only to us. I mean, we're known to be loud about it, so long as Boris runs marketing, that I think we'll continue. But we're reining him in, making sure that it's about positive news and fame versus notoriety. There's a difference there.
So you're getting into your zen, that's what you're saying.
Well, I'd say knock on wood.
So I'll get to you, Nick, in just 1 second. And Meish, what's in your view the main takeaway from the killer release? I mean, what's the thing that you're looking for?
That OpenStack is ready for prime time.
Okay. Are there specific feature that you're?
I'm very interested to see where the upcoming features, which I think we're going to talk slightly about, is the effect of how OpenStack is going to integrate with containers, Docker or Rocket or whatever, all the other different technologies which are coming up and sprouting up the whole time. It'll be very interesting to see how that is integrated, how people make use of it in part of their workloads and in their organizations, because there are a huge number of benefits which can be reaped from these kind of technologies if you know how to do it properly and if you know how to make use of those technologies.
Excellent. And in my personal view, also, part of the news is that there wasn't much news actually in the release itself, and it's good news, because that indicates that finally the OpenStack itself is starting to focus on its core and not just spreading itself thin into more and more projects. So that's also very interesting. Now, Nick, in the yesterday, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, there was 2 cool demos. One of them was about the marketplace, and the other one was on container. We'll talk about the containers in just 1 second. Tell us a little bit about the marketplace,
the App Store,
the App Store,
the OpenStack Community App Store. So basically, what it comes down to is deploying an application on OpenStack is not well, at the moment anyway, it is not a simple process. There's a lot of different steps that you have to take, and so there's a project that's been around for a while. It's a community project, and Mirantis was instrumental in it, but it's a community project called Murano, and what it allows developers to do is to package up an application so that users can easily deploy it. All the packaging is done, so you can basically say, this is what I want, and then Murano tells OpenStack everything that it needs to do. You know, go get me a VM, give me a database, give me this, give me that, give me the other thing. And the idea behind it is to expand that notion of what can be easily done by users and what can easily be done by developers. So the app catalog is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So.
What part of applications are already running on the marketplace itself, or the catalog?
The app catalog has a bunch of different ones. I don't think I can list exactly what's in there right now, but I know that 5 minutes after the announcement, SUSE had already uploaded an application in there. So it was like, great, terrific. So that's exactly the kind of uptake.
Yeah, actually, after these, we'll take the links, and those who wants to actually submit things into that. It's definitely a very cool project. It's kind of the App Store for OpenStack.
Exactly, that's exactly.
And,
it is the App Store.
It does bring, I think, something that I was looking for a long time, actually being implemented in a very nice way. What about Magnum? What do you think about Magnum?
So Magnum is a project, another one of the projects that is focused on container consumption by OpenStack. And you know, Murano, by the way, is another one of those projects. And just to piggyback on the first question, what applications are available in the first place? I mean, there is Google Kubernetes and Pivotal Cloud Foundry, and there are many, many more. I mean, Oracle 12.5, that was the announcement that we had with Oracle. But what's important is, you know, you can consume containers as workloads on top of OpenStack, and Murano will orchestrate it. You know, and once you put it in the catalog, it's a one-button deployment. That was the demo that actually our own Craig Peters did in front of 6,000 people, and you know, it's a 5-minute demo that you start with a concept, press a button, and 5 minutes later, Kubernetes is running on top of OpenStack. And the demo ended as it works, which means, you know, it's impressive when you have 6,000. Well, I mean, we don't have to compare, right? It worked, and that's a good thing. But going back to container story, so Magnum is a project that creates a layer of abstraction over and above containers, and it can do Docker containers or any other containers, and this is an OpenStack view on how to consume containers. And so what happens is OpenStack gives ubiquitous API on top of containers, and then whatever happens inside is completely hidden, and you can consume it using the OpenStack Magnum API. So there are two trains of thought there, and both are valid. One is more OpenStack-centric that says, hey, so long as it's all OpenStack and you have the API, what happens underneath is abstracted. And there are people who would consume it that way. And then there is a different point of view that says, hey, there are customers who don't really care about OpenStack, and they want to consume containers using native container APIs, and those don't want to be abstracted because containers are really workloads on top of OpenStack mostly. You know, some will say that containers don't need OpenStack, which is a whole different discussion, but I believe that they do. But so Magnum is an abstraction of that via an OpenStack API. Murano is an orchestrator that will put containers on top of OpenStack, either in VM or bare metal, or multiple in containers in one VM. So those are two ways to consume containers today on top of OpenStack.
And to me, I think one of the exciting thing about those two projects is that, unlike Solon and some of the previous announcements that's been in OpenStack, is that we're basically trying to reinvent the wheel and build yet another OpenStack project that is doing what others are doing already successfully within OpenStack. I think the nice thing about the two projects is that they're actually bringing the outside world into OpenStack and making them a better friend. And I think that's
I'll make a comment about this. That I've been blogging now for couple of years, saying that OpenStack needs to open up to the problems of the higher layers of the stack, and OpenStack being the plumbing. So long as we are not involved in the conversations about real workloads, OpenStack is going to become very much irrelevant. So the app catalog, the Murano project, which is an opening and integration of the outside world, essentially saying that OpenStack now is involved in the conversations of workload. Now, that's where the value is, and there's a simple analogy to illustrate this. People our age remember that when we bought our first IBM PC, I bought mine in '87. It was a big box with a TV screen and a keyboard, and you open it up, and you power it on, and it comes up and books from a diskette, and then it comes up and there's a green screen. There's a C colon slash greater than sign, right, and then the cursor, and you say dir enter, and it goes the list of files in there. And that was pretty much the extent of what you could do with that. And I said, how useful is this thing anyway, right? So not until people started writing real applications, the IBM PC became useful. Well, OpenStack for the longest time was the black screen with all those DIRs running around, including some of the demos we saw yesterday. Yeah. And now we see 50 applications or 30 applications happening, and the world is just exploding. So when that happens, OpenStack becomes real.
Let's talk about Google for a second. Maybe Mesh, you want to take that, and I'll say also a few words about that.
Google has their own cloud, of course, public cloud. They won't allow you to deploy.
But they used to be thought as a rival to OpenStack in a way, like Amazon. And all of a sudden they were on stage yesterday. How do you explain that?
I think people are starting to understand that hybrid cloud is going to be reality. You're going to have workloads in your data center, in a public cloud provider, which will be OpenStack, and you also, for a number of reasons, will want to be in other public cloud providers with Amazon or Google. And having to port workloads from cloud to cloud to cloud today is very, very difficult. So the easier or the sooner the better that these cloud providers or these cloud solutions start understanding that they have to work together and provide the ways of allowing people to run workloads. In this case, they did a demo by the fact of running containers in each of the clouds, which is actually a very simple, very, very good solution. And not very much abstraction is needed in order to change those things. It's better for everybody, specifically for the end user and the customer, because it gives them a huge amount of flexibility of what they need is for their agility to continue working and choice, which comes down to the end, to the bottom line is dollars how much they're going to pay.
Right, and I'll get to you, Boris, in just 1 second. I'll say my takeaway of that is that, again, in previous event we were talking about opening through EC2 compatibility, and we had a lot of debates about whether this is the right place to do portability, and I had my thoughts about that. I think the direction that I've seen yesterday is, I think, more practical also. That's also been the direction that we've been taking, with our product and with our approach. I think that the integration and portability with other clouds would do much more good to OpenStack than looking at that as a rival. And I think that also adds to the fact that VMware is now joining OpenStack, and now they're playing the game and coming up with their own distro. So I think in general, being friends of those other technologies and other clouds is going to be ecosystem, exactly.
So there is a larger story to this, and of course I'm very happy that Alex and Boris can be used interchangeably.
Sure.
Oh. You're not the first one.
Yeah.
I'm happy about this. I'm not sure if Boris is.
Well, but we're also doing it in Israel events. It's going to be. Right. I'm used to have Alex in the events, and now
Alex presenting Boris's slides. Now it's going to be Boris presenting Boris's slides. It's a lot better deal. The authenticity is being used. But I think there's a larger story to this, and Google, of course, being an important example, but there's a larger story to this, and I can also give you a little bit of the color of the board meeting that happened on Sunday, one of the discussions was there was a company called Parallels, which is a company that's focusing on service providers and also is known actually for their container technology. They were the first ones to introduce containers. Their containers are actually enterprise ready today. It's where Docker wants to go technology-wise, but Docker, of course, is a lot more. There's a lot more demand and hype behind Docker. Okay, so so there was a lot of discussion because Parallels applied, and when you look at their code contributions, they're not very impressive with them. So there was a lot of conversations about, all right, code contributions. And one of the arguments that I personally made was that, listen, guys, OpenStack today has plenty of contributors. We're not having shortage of code contributions. It's not about the code. It's about what ecosystems are integrating with us, who feels we're important, and who can give us a boost and credibility in other places that are not taking developers. And, you know, there were people saying, no, code is very important to OpenStack, and look at the history. But pretty much, you know, you saw the public vote, I think it was in there 23-1, in favor of accepting Parallels. It's all about OpenStack becoming part of the larger ecosystem and being an integral part. So when you start thinking about it in those terms, Google is not just a company, it's an ecosystem, right? And if Google is recognizing that OpenStack is there and important, and of course, let's remember why Kubernetes became open source by Google, because ultimately what Google wants to do is wants to make Google-style containers readily consumable in the private cloud environment, so that the overflow from that will natively go into Google, which is the best optimized for this, right? So it's a interop play, but also it will benefit Google tremendously. So there is a large Google community out there that is interested in consuming this kind of technology, and by Google coming in and saying, hey, we integrate with OpenStack, it gives a huge credibility boost to OpenStack. Now we're seeing the same thing with Cloud Foundry doing the same thing, and the whole Docker hype. And we will see other ecosystems coming in and saying, okay, the prevailing private cloud story is OpenStack. We accept it. We integrate with this. We're embracing it. And this is the next phase of OpenStack's development. That is no longer the developer-centric community that's all about how we're building it. It's about how we play with other ecosystems where, quite frankly, 99% of the users are, right? So, again, we have matured a little bit.
Excellent. And Mesh, to that point, I know that this is not your field of expertise, but since I need to ask you also questions, I'll ask you about the interoperability thing. There's another industry that is actually being affected by OpenStack, and that's the carrier industry. And we're seeing a lot of things being influenced through that industry going into OpenStack, which is NFV and all the networking piece. And in a way, OpenStack becomes an integration point between industries. So all of a sudden, I think that the other interesting point of inflection, if you like, or whatever, is that because of that, the IT of carriers and also the backend now start to look very close to what the enterprise looks like. And that kind of created a very big, I would say, even tectonic shift in how we look at the two industries together.
Correct.
What's your view about the whole networking change and the influence of that in OpenStack, and how much do you think that OpenStack would still be that integration point between industries?
I think that even everybody's understanding that software is the future. You can't continue to provide your own hardware or your own specific solution which are tailored to your field. You have to try and be, as we say, as interoperable as possible with everybody. So the way to do that is, of course, by providing your solutions as software. And as we all know, OpenStack is becoming the most common way to deploy things today in the private cloud. Amongst everybody else, what everybody else wants to say, but it's still in the private cloud would be the most simple way or the most common way to deploy things. So these companies, which are, as you say, the carriers, are trying to look for ways to also utilize this, as you say, this ecosystem in order to provide better products also for their customers, which also want to do these kind of things. So It is, as you say, a fine line of maybe, in a way, shooting yourself in the foot, and another way, opening yourself up to other markets, which will give you a lot more opportunities in the future.
So Nick, maybe you want to say a few words about the telco and the obviously the enterprises themselves. I mean, do you see them now being part of the same room, same discussion about OpenStack, or is it a completely different discussion in your view?
I think the answer is yes. In that, yes, it's the same, and yes, it's different. In that, both we're talking about two different areas where reliability is crucial, but in completely different ways. You know, the telcos, so much of what they do is reliant on not just the reliability of networking and the flexibility of the network, and maybe not so much in the areas where enterprises are more concerned. Enterprises maybe have a little bit more tolerance for things maybe not being as ready, but not really. They want to know that, you know, their data is not going to disappear and it's going to be accessible all the time. And what I've found interesting at this summit is previous summits we seem to have been, as a community, always kind of defending ourselves. You know, it's like, no, really, it works. Honest, it really does work. You just got to get it right. It really does work. And I don't really see a lot of that here. I mean, you know, there's still pockets of, you know, the hardcore developers going, oh, I wish this part worked. But, you know, that's kind of people who are down in the weeds, and it's always going to be like that. But there seems to almost be this sort of tacit acknowledgement of, yeah, okay, it's ready now, you know, yeah, it's soup. You know, and a lot of that has to do with, I think, so many customers coming in who are not down in the weeds of OpenStack, and these people who are not so familiar with OpenStack as we are. And what's interesting to me is there also seems to be a lack of having to justify being in the same room with the Googles and the Amazons and the Microsofts. It's like, yeah, okay, we're mostly, you know, maybe we are mostly private cloud, but nobody is saying, well, what makes you think you can do this cloud thing? It's like it's just assumed now that we've kind of passed that that sort of perceptual hurdle, which I think is an important step.
Excellent. I think we need to start and conclude because we're already in the 40th of the hour. Shlomo, I'll let you ask the concluding questions, and I suggest that we'll also give everyone a chance to have a closing remark. So Shlomo?
Sure. Nick, as long as the camera, well, it was focused on you. There we go. So tell us about your T-shirts.
Well, this was Alex and Boris. Their ideas here. I'll just stand up a little bit so you can see them. They're hockey jerseys. You know, Canada again. You know, the hockey country here. They're comfortable, except they're really warm.
I feel fine.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm from Russia, remember? So yeah. I'll share an anecdote about this. So it's, you know, it's one team, right? Number one team. So everybody has the name behind it. I can show it to the back. Yeah. Everybody has a name, and you know, pure play team number one. So we're all number ones. But of course, you know, the hockey theme. You know, those of us who visit our booth see there's a hockey theme there. So among other things, we have an air hockey table in our booth with a robot playing against us. And of course, we have to like fix the software so the robot plays a little bit better. So we kind of did that over the weekend. You know, the anecdote is not this. So it turns out, and completely unbeknownst to all the organizers, and of course we used Alex and Boris interchangeably, as Boris's idea, not mine, that the World Cup was played in Prague just this last week. And the Sunday prior to the you know, the summit, the final was played in Prague between, you guessed it, Russia and Canada. And Canada just ate Russia for lunch.
Wow.
6-1, destroyed, disgraceful, whatever. And so, unbeknownst to all of that, I walk into the room in the store and goes, Alex, didn't you know that Canada just beat you? And I was like, I learned about this, and I said, well, we knew about it. That's why the Canadian flag is black.
That's a nice thing. Okay, I learned something from it. So let's do a quick closing round. Who wants to start? Let's start with Meish.
I remember seeing a tweet which said the OpenStack Summit is like a family meeting, but with family members we really like. And that's more or less what I felt here at the summit, which is not yet over. We're still in the middle, but it's a good community of people. It's a good family of people. It's always good to see the people, their faces, say hello, chat with everybody. And I had a very good time. I hope I will continue to do this in the future on a regular basis.
Yeah, actually, I really like that sentence, and I feel, especially here with the friends here, that it's actually becoming a family, if it's not already. Alex?
You have to tolerate your grandaunt's cooking, which is not always the same, but otherwise I agree. No, I love the venue. I love the fact that it continues to grow. I love the fact that we're now starting to be inclusive of other communities, and communities are becoming inclusive of us. So this is like you said, bar mitzvah. It's like the young adult who's realizing that there is life outside of his parents' home, and is trying to venture out and see a friendly crowd out there to say, yeah, we know you existed, you've been a good boy. Now let's see how we can take you to the real life. So that's what's happening.
So, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, basically for me, it's a matter of being almost submerged in all of this. I don't know if you've ever gone to one of these things, you know that it's impossible to see everything. And you just kind of have to accept that and go with the flow. And I'm going to agree with Alex and Meish. It is like family. You see people that this is the only time you see them. You talk to them on IRC, but
unless you live in Silicon Valley, which is a whole different story.
Yeah. I live in the middle of nowhere. This is the only time I see them. Yeah, it's best time of the year.
Well, I'll say my own remark to that is that we've been preaching the interoperability thing for a long time, and we've been having a lot of chat about that with Tosca and our contribution to Tosca and all the things that we've done on that. I felt this year that OpenStack really did a big jump into maturity. In that respect, maturity in the way of thinking, maturity in the way it's opening up, and not doing again those solemn thing and those other projects that you get them in the news and then you're asking what the hell is going on. So anyway, it's been a great event, and it's been a great podcast being with you. Hangout, sorry, not a podcast. And I also wanted to show you the people behind the scenes of running it. So there you are, Black Liza. So Liza, why don't you come into the picture a little bit? Say hello to the picture.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jeremy, as well, for setting it up, and thank you, Shlomo from LA.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, we will see you all on the next event, on the next podcast, whenever that happens to be, and encourage you to attend in person or remotely somehow the upcoming OpenStack Israel event in Tel Aviv on June 15th.
Thanks.